What's going on? What's going on? It's your boy Storyteller Jet with another episode of the That's So Fire Talk Show. And today we are going to have an amazing talk. This is the second one of the day. So I'm super excited to have Edward Reyes here on the show. And we are going to talk a little bit about his journey, some of the things that he's learned to have grown his business to become, seven-figure law firm. He has a very exciting platform that he's also creating that we're going to be chatting about. And also, he's very heavily involved in the community. I'm going to chat about a lot of really great things. So, welcome to the show, Edward.
Man, I'm super excited. Like really, really excited. I love the setup. The vibe is great. I mean, your team is fire. That's so fire.
That's so fire, baby. Let's
It
go.
It
Yeah,
is.
man. Super excited to have you on the show. Ever since we talked about, maybe it was it like 2 or 3 weeks ago about having you on the show, the conversation that we have was fantastic. So I cannot wait for us to be able to share some of the things here today. It's going to be
Me too.
amazing.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So let's start by doing a quick introduction of who Edward Reyes is.
Well, yeah, I'm a father, husband. I have two daughters. My one of my daughters is an attorney.
Oh,
My
really?
28-year-old daughter, and my other one is finishing up her at USF and hopefully going to law school as well. Fun fact: my wife and my oldest daughter went to school together. They did associates or bachelor's in law degree together at FAMU. Go Rattlers!
What? That is
Yeah, it's
crazy.
crazy,
That is
right?
awesome. That is a really cool story.
Yeah, man, it was pretty cool, man. I mean, that was always her dream, and she did it. So I'm proud of him.
Yeah, and getting the opportunity to have that experience with your daughter too, I think that's obviously unconventional because but getting that experience is awesome.
Yeah, no, it really was, man. I mean, it makes me feel good as a father that I'm able to hopefully impart. They see. Sometimes you feel like you're always working, 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 but kids are always looking. So
Yeah, and for them to basically follow your footstep and kind of be wanting to become lawyers as well, that's incredible.
yeah, man. You know what? So my wife actually is the one that came up with that idea. I never even thought about being a lawyer. I actually owned a doctor's office, and and we can go through all that here pretty soon. But
Yeah,
I never thought about it. I just knew lawyers, and she said you should go to law school
yeah,
when I was 31.
yeah, yeah. From 31 and starting law school,
Not even
that's
law school,
crazy.
starting my associates at
Shit.
31. Associate's
Wow.
bachelor's in law degree. It's like a 7-year sentence, like in
Yeah.
jail.
Yeah, we'll talk about that,
Of
and I think there
course.
is a lot of lesson that a lot of people would probably learn from that.
Yes, sir.
But the very first question that I have for you is the first question I always ask anybody because I truly believe in that power of that specific the journey. So,
Yeah.
what is your origin story?
Man, my origin story is I was born in New Jersey. My mom moved to Tampa because my dad, my sperm donor dad, I call him because you know uh he wasn't a very great person, not a good dad, right? So he came to Tampa, and I grew up in like this area, town and country, the Crestwood area, like Egypt Lake. At first it was Section 8 homes, and then my mom was able to eventually buy a house, and then she got with my person that I consider my dad. It was my stepdad when I was 9, and just life started changing from there, man. I mean, I grew up, I mean, he was a great father figure to me, and again, I was a teenage dad. Growing up in the neighborhood, whenever you have no money, you have nothing to do. Us, unfortunately, in a teenage group, and you have nothing else to do, you think of bad ideas with a lot of your friends because you neither have money. So that was kind of my thing growing up. And then when I went to high school, I met my wife, Maria, and we had a baby young. I was 17, she was 14, and so I became a father. Yeah, shortly after,
Yeah.
and the way I was able to get into this whole personal injury world was because one day I was leaving her house. It was probably like, I don't know, like 1, 2 in the morning, something like that. Somebody was driving on the wrong side of the road, and we went head on. We actually went head on. I had the option either hit the person or hit a tree, and I was like, well, good luck. and So that's what happened. And I remember going to one attorney that I knew because his one of my friends, his uncle was an attorney, and he made a recommendation for a doctor's office. So I went to a doctor's office. That chiropractic doctor, going back to mentors and people that can change and form your life. I went to the doctor's office, and that doctor, he was showing me how to do adjustments, which is kind of weird because I'm like 18 years old, right? And and then I'm inviting people to come to my mom's house in town and country, and I'm doing adjustments on the neighbors, which again, not supposed to do,
Yeah, and you
right?
told me that was in the hood kind of like place too, where a bunch of people would come and just kind of like a kind of bad area.
Well, no, that's where I had that clinic. So I'll tell you that too. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean, this was like town and country area. And then I remember talking to my wife and I'm like, listen, um, I want to be a chiropractic physician. And she's like, well, you met one person that you like and you want to move us to New York. 'Cause I was going to New York school or chiropractic school and then stay in New Jersey and take the train to New York every day. She's like, well, why don't you become a massage therapist first? I said, well, I don't want to touch people. I think that's, again, ignorant myself, being 18 years old. I don't want to touch people. I think that's a little bit suspect. And I was thinking something completely different, like completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And as any good woman, she talked me into that. And then I started working at a doctor's office right after I finished graduating. And within a few months, I was already running that clinic. So I was like, wow, I actually like the entrepreneur stuff. This is actually just how this all started, right? And I remember buying equipment, selling equipment from like places that were closing down for pennies on the dollar, and like places that were closing down, getting rid of their furniture. I'm like, hey, I'll pick it up for free. And I was flipping furniture to have some seed capital to open up the first clinic. And then that's when the clinic was in the hood, when I first opened the clinic.
Mm-hmm.
But because I could not afford to have doctors yet, I was sent to the doctor's office, wait in the lobby, wait for them for a prescription for therapy, come back to the office and do treatment, or go to their house, or whatever it took. Sometimes we'll be there till 9 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
just to see one client. And eventually, when I started making more money, I hired therapists, I hired doctors, I worked out deals with different doctors, and then eventually had them on payroll. And then I had that for 13 years.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
incredible journey, man. So you were a teenage dad.
I was.
You had your first child at 17. For anybody out there having kids at that early age, that could potentially be I guess, I wouldn't say death sentence. I don't know how to put that
Bro, it
word.
was hard.
Yeah,
I'm not
it's
gonna lie.
hard.
I'm not gonna lie. It was hard for
Yeah,
both of us.
yeah. Having kids at that early age is hard. What are some of the biggest lessons that you have learned throughout that journey?
I can tell you that one of the biggest lessons is sometimes things that you think can make you a quick buck, you're trading pennies for dollars in life, and you don't really appreciate things until you have a family and you have kids. And a lot of my friends did also have kids too, but they just left it to, their mom or their grandparents or whatever the case is. For me, because of my upbringing, because of my dad, I was like, I'm not trying to be like this. So I have a lot of defects, but one of those defects is not being a father, right? So I realized that you need to man up. You need to man up. Take care of your kid. Take care of your family.
Yeah,
So that experience for me was life changing.
yeah.
I'm not recommending other people to do it that way. I'm not saying everybody out there. I'm not saying that. I'm just
So
saying
yeah, obviously that was extremely hard to have like a kid at
it
17.
was.
What are some of the things that you decided to do to make sure that you were able to provide for your family at that young age?
Put a lot of work in. I need to finish high school. My grades went from barely passing to making 3.0. Again, 3.0 nowadays is nothing for these kids, but for me, it was a big deal. And working on the weekends, working at night, waking up super early, going to work, doing whatever I had to do in order to provide. And it was difficult, man. But you know what? Like everything in life, it becomes part of your life. Everything becomes routine after a while. It's funny because when I talk to some people, they're like, "Oh my God, it's a lot." I'm like, "It's just a Monday." Like it's what you do throughout the day that becomes a routine and that becomes just normal for you.
Yeah, I love that. So now that you've graduated with, high school, you work hard to, pass and actually improved on your grades.
Yeah.
What was next for you?
When I had the clinic. So I had the doctor's office for a long time. We Things were going well for quite some time, and then the laws were changing. They want the doctors to be on the corporation, and basically on paper, we are the employee of that doctor, even though we're the owner of the clinic. So that was kind of a life changing experience for me. I did bring on some gentleman that was an employee of mine that made him a part. I made him a partner. That was probably the worst decision I made because they might be in a good employee doesn't mean they're a good partner. That was a learning lesson there. And basically, I almost lost everything, man. Like I went through a really tough time that because of one of his actions doing something behind my back to other facilities created an investigation which had nothing to do with us, but the insurance company stopped paying me.
Wow.
So I went from being not very very comfortable, being fairly comfortable to like hemorrhaging 30 to 40,000 a month. My car got repoed. I had rental houses, they all got taken away. My own house almost got taken away. Realization really hit hard when my wife went to go buy some Chinese food and our debit card declined.
Wow.
That was tough, bro. That was a life changing experience for me. And then I started thinking a lot more clear. When you're broke, you think very clearly. Hopefully, but yeah.
Yeah. Wow. There's so much to unpack there. Um, I'm gonna ask that question a little bit because I think there's something there that would be really valuable for some people. Um, what was the? Can you talk to me about the lowest point of your life when everything got repoed and you were hemorrhaging $30,000, and how did you get out of that?
I give a lot of credit to my wife because I'm more of a person that jumps and she's more of a planner, which is kind of good because I was going through because I still had staff. I still had paid my staff. I still had doctors. I still had therapists. I had everything else. And you don't want to portray the image that you're going through trouble because your staff may want to leave you. And without them, you can't operate. So I remember going home every day feeling depressed. Like, you pretend at the office like everything is great. And then you go home and you just want to go to sleep. And I think I went like 6 months of this. And I remember calling the credit card companies, the banks. I'm like, hey, listen, I'm going through this problem. Can you please help me before it becomes a problem? It's not that it's not gonna happen. It's going to happen. It's gonna happen in 3 months because the way the insurance company was paying. And they're like, sorry, we can't help you. Sorry, we can't help you. When you're late, talk to us. When you're late, talk to us. And I'm like, well, when my late and my credit is bad, then it doesn't make a difference at that point.
Yeah.
And nobody could help. So what changed for me was to get out of my own funk. Honestly, my own stress, my own mind. And she brought up a good point. The point was, thank God there's no debtor's jail. They're not going to arrest you for this. Like worst case, they're going to call you to death. I'm like, true. And I started working with like credit repair companies. I started thinking more clearly because before I had big spaces for different things. Like, all right, this room is only for this. This room is only for this. So I started doing a lot more with a lot less. And I became very efficient, very efficient, and became more cash heavy than asset heavy. I used to own a lot of assets, houses, cars, things like that. But it's always this negative cycle every month paying the credit card pay. So I started saving more, and I started budgeting like in a different way. And I don't advise this for everybody, but when you're going through it, you need to figure this out. I opened up like 7 or 8 different bank accounts, same bank, just different accounts. And I'm like, all right, I want to put $200 here, $100 here. When I get paid, So I started doing all these random little things to save money and allocate money for different things. And that helped me forcefully budget. But around this time, it's when I got deep into the charity things, the community stuff. Because when you feel like Rome is falling, and selfishly, it started selfishly. I was like, I need to see people that are struggling more than me, selfishly, And then I was like, well, and I started seeing people, and there's, they have no food, they have nowhere to go, and I started thinking, you know what, my situation is not that bad. And then I started helping more people, and then I started feeling better about myself. I was helping other people. It became. I don't help people for the purpose of like I do this and I expect to get a return. I can help 100 or 1,000 people and may get nothing. But in some way, the universe blesses me over time. It's not a tick for tack situation. And and that's kind of what got me into it. And then I got really, really into it that I started doing it like more than even my job.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible that when you were hitting rock bottom, you decided to use the little that you have to still impact other people. And that's actually when the blessing starts flowing back to you by
Yes.
being able to provide back to other people. That's incredible.
Yeah. I remember one specific time. It was tough, really tough. And I remember being in church one time, and I gave $200. And at that time in my life, that was a big deal, you know. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know, but I felt like I had to give it. And things just started happening.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going on a preaching thing, but I'm saying like things just started happening, and life just got better, and then you start seeing the light, and then just keep working towards that, and as you keep working towards it, things get better.
Yeah. What is the biggest advice that you would give to any entrepreneurs that might be hitting rock bottom right now?
To get out of your head. The first thing is we are our worst enemies. We really are our worst enemies. We think that the sky is falling in our specific situation. But when you surround yourself with other people, positive people to help you, to bring you up, and also people that are also going through it, you start really appreciating that your life is really not that bad. And once you have that change in mindset, everything changes.
Yeah, I love that. As a follow up to that question, what advice would you give to entrepreneurs that might be having limited resources about maybe using the little that they have to impact other people?
You know what? Reciprocation, trade, work with people. It's amazing what growth you can have just by relationship, by networking. For example, we were just talking, me and you, like that you do this for I mean, of course it's your business, but you do it to help bless other people. Well, by that, other people might get out. Let's say they go viral, whatever the case may be. Now their business is elevated and your business is also elevated. A lot of times it's not about, if you have limited resources, work with somebody else that has a service that you need or product that you need in trade. Say, listen, I can help you with this, you help me with this, and do things together and co-branding or whatever the case is. That we're using other people's mutual resources to grow together. Because I think about it like this: if we're in a rowboat, not one person can row the boat. We need a team to row the boat, and as more people are helping, the further we go together.
Absolutely love that. So I guess one of the questions I wanted to ask you about, how was it like running a business in the hood?
Man, so when I first started out, I didn't know anybody. I just, what I have is persistence, good and bad sometimes. Um, I was going to the projects actually, and I was talking to people. What happens is that people, they try to be something that they're not. That's the thing. Like, you always got to be who you are all the time, no matter where you're at and no matter who you're with. So I was going to the areas of like low income project housing and things like that, and I literally was talking to people on the streets. I had a door hanger. The door hanger, it's not the door hanger works. It's you talking to people, giving the door hanger, because that way they know you're actually like not trying to like who are you? Who is this guy?
Mhm.
Actually having a conversation with people. People want to be heard. People want to tell you their story. So I remember going there almost every day, just going there, talking to people. I got invited to so many people's houses. I ate so much soul food. It was such a great experience. I probably gained a little bit of weight, like, I'm not gonna lie. And and I am Cuban, but I mean, I look like a white boy. I'm not, listen, it is what it is, right? So they were like, who's this crazy white dude in the projects? Me. Because I wasn't there to pretend something I'm not. I'm there to build relationships with our community. And that has been such a blessing for me in so many ways.
Yeah, and I feel like a bunch of people, if they were starting a business, they would try to kind of stay away from
Ah,
those places like this, and because of the inherent maybe danger that may be in those areas, but obviously those people are people that need help too.
Of
And you took
course.
like, the other approach, like instead of running away, you ran to it and were able to help many people, and obviously able to grow your business that way.
Yeah, I mean, it just in any context of the world, like who is your demographic? Who's your business people? Meet them. Don't stay behind the screen all the time. Shake hands, talk to them, get to know their stories. That goes a long way. Like this thing we're doing now, like the hashtag Raise Get Back campaign. I'm selecting 45 families, and we're giving away $500, $250, whatever the case is, sponsoring paying for stuff for Christmas for kids and whatever. And I actually asked people to come into my office yesterday. And yesterday, about 11 people showed up. And it was so moving to talk to them. And one of the things that I heard the most, I've never met anybody that has done this. Just to hear our story, we just want to be heard. We feel like people don't listen anymore. And I said, you know what? I'm actually getting more out of this than you probably getting out of this because of what you're telling me.
Absolutely. Yeah, and yeah, you don't see a bunch of lawyers out there inviting a bunch of people. And I think you
No.
told me the total was what, like $15,000 that you were giving away.
Yeah, and it's still happening. So throughout the week, I'm gonna people are coming in and stuff like that. But yeah, it's about $15,000.
Yeah. What are some of the people that you are able to help with those? Like,
Yeah, so I'm doing families that are struggling financial, and so we did like a Facebook campaign. They have a survey. Like we had to vet them because we don't want just random
give,
people,
yeah,
right? Like I want to know their story, and then we read the stories. We pass it around internally to my office. Let everybody vote on the story, and then we call those people to come in. So struggling families, kids that want to go to college or in school would need help with supplies, classes, um, local heroes, firefighters, police, things of that nature, and single parents.
yeah,
Because I get it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Why did you decide to select those types of demographics specifically?
Because what I went through, because I understand what it is to struggle. I understand how it is to be not a single parent, but a struggling family. You know what I'm saying? So the local heroes, I think that uh, I'm not a firefighter, I'm not a law enforcement, nothing like that. But those people risk their lives every day
Every single day.
and get disrespected a lot by people because, especially when it comes to law enforcement, they're trying to do their job. And I'm not saying everybody's clearly some people pass the boundaries, but they don't get the respect that they deserve. Teachers don't get the pay that they deserve. Nurses don't get the respect they deserve. So these people should be awarded.
Absolutely. So now fast forward to going back to school at 31 years old, pursuing your law degree. Um, can you talk to me about that process of like, going back to school, getting your associates at 31 years old?
Man, what an experience that was. I went to HEC, Hillsborough Community College. Now I think now it's called Hillsborough College. I was probably the only person dressed up in a suit sitting in a class with 13th grade. It's literally right after high school, so 13th grade. And I stuck out like a sore thumb. And I'm constantly getting like phone calls and messages from my office and all these urgent needs and the teacher. I remember sitting in algebra once, which, man, going back to algebra after that, you don't remember nothing. It's like starting from scratch.
Yeah.
I remember the algebra teacher was like, "Sir, do you have a learning disability?" I'm like, "No, I just haven't done this in like, since high school. I don't remember algebra at all."
Yeah.
And it was hard, man. I mean, it was hard, hard. Like I was in tutoring so much, but I used my business skills to help me in school. And the way I did that is that because I know these kids are hungry, I know they're hungry, and if you buy them food, whatever. So I would take them Panera Bread, I would take them pizza, I would bring them coffee. I was treating them as if like when you do regular
Business
networking,
relationship. Yeah.
like a business relationship. Those tutors helped me more than anybody else. And anytime I came up, "Oh, Mr. Rick, Eddie, yeah, of course we got time for you. Of course we got time for you." And they would even help me even after school and even come to my house sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Listen, a little bit goes a long way, but you just gotta listen to what they're going through.
Absolutely. So, for anybody that may think that they've missed the boat, that they're too late,
It's never too
Um,
late.
what advice would you give them? Because you went back to school at 31.
Yeah.
What advice would you give them if they think that they're too late and they've missed the boat to pursue their dreams?
Education has no timeline. I literally have met people in their 60s, 70s getting a degree. Why? Because education has no timeline. Like you literally can learn something at any age, whenever. And if you want to, this is what happens. And this is what happens. What happens if you don't do something? What happens 5 years from now? The same thing, just probably worse. What happens 5 years from now if you do something? Your career could become a lot different. Your life could be substantially different. 5 years is going to, and I give an arbitrary number, 5 years, but no matter what, that time is going to pass anyways. So do something with the time that you have.
Yeah, yeah. What was the biggest lessons that you learned through going back to school at 31 years old?
That I appreciate the people that put the work. Like I wasn't a very good kid in high school, in middle school, and I actually learned. I actually tell you, it's better for me to went to school at 31 because I was mentally more prepared. Right out of high school, it was very difficult for me because I was, thinking about 1,000 other things, which didn't work out. When my mind was definitely in a better position at 31 than it was when I was 19. However, with that being said, you have to allocate more time than you expect to get good grades. It's not as easy as what you think it will be when you have a big gap like that.
Yeah, yeah. So now you've gone to school, you passed the bar, and now you started your firm. What are some of the biggest challenge that you faced as a business owner starting in law firm at, like, I don't know, 36, 37 years old?
Good timeline. Yeah. The biggest challenge was because I had the experience running the doctor's office for a long time, for 13 years. I understood the business side, but I didn't truly understand the law side. But I was strong on the relationship side. So people choose you. They choose the person. They're not choosing the brand, they're choosing you as an individual. So the biggest thing was, can people trust me enough to want to do business with me? Even though I don't have experience yet. And that was true because the first year I signed up 286 clients.
286 clients on your first year.
Yes, sir.
Wow, that's incredible.
It was hard, but
Yeah.
it worked. I did
So,
everything.
what are some of the secrets that, I guess I'll ask them, I say them the secrets. What are some of the things that you did to sign up 286 clients on your first year of business?
Well, so to go back just a little bit further, whenever I was in law school, I reactivated a real estate broker's license that I had. There's a whole story there, which, one day we can talk about it. But
Yeah.
and I sold real estate while I was in law school, right? And then I remember saying to myself, how are people going to remember me when I open up a law firm? Because when I started selling real estate, people knew me as the guy that owned the doctor's office. So I had a very hard struggle getting into the real estate. And then I got so deep into the real estate, then people started thinking of me as the real estate guy. So then I was like, oh my God, how is this going to change when I open up the law firm? So I started this show called Mornings with Reyes. And I was going Facebook Live every single morning on different topics, Monday through Friday. Monday, motivation, things like Transformation Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I forgot what Thursday was, and then Focus Friday. And so I started this show. And then I started getting a personal following, like a branding. So and then whenever I went to law school, I did this every day. When I graduated, people got to know me as an individual, not as me as a career person, as the doctor, the doctor's office, the real estate guy. So then people started to follow me. I'm big into the personal branding. That helped a lot. In fact, a lot of people didn't even know I went to law school because, I didn't want to share that with a lot of people. So when I graduated, people were like, oh my God, I had no idea you even going to school, period. Well, I didn't want to tell nobody.
Yeah.
It was a surprise.
Yeah.
And that's literally how I remember posting that I passed law school, I passed the bar, and I got, hundreds and hundreds of comments and whatever. And somebody says, hey, I know my coworker just got in a car accident. Do you want to sign her up? I said, of course. That was the same day I passed the bar, that I found out that I passed the bar. I signed up my first client a day and a half later. So that day and a half, I made a website. I incorporated my name. The Reyes firm was actually the law office of Edward J. Reyes, DBA, the Reyes firm. I ordered a business card. I called one of my attorney friends. I'm like, hey, bro, can you please send me your stuff? And I'm sitting in Chick-fil-A, changing all the stuff to my law firm name at Chick-fil-A, driving to Clearwater, mind you, to see this client because I didn't have an office yet. And and as I'm talking to her, she's like, Jay told, which is her boss, Jay told me that you just graduated law school. I said, true. She's like, but after talking to you for a good amount of time, I feel comfortable that I want to go forward. And we got her a great outcome. Great outcome.
That is awesome.
Yeah, man.
That is awesome. That's I didn't know that story. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Incredible. So you started doing now as a lawyer doing all of the other stuff. Actually, I'm going to take one step back because just to touch on something that I think would be important to touch on. Why is it important for lawyers or medical people, for anybody out there, to focus on personal branding?
Brands will come and go. People come and go. But when people, this has been something forever. But when people know you, like you, and trust you, they'll do business with you no matter what you do, because it goes to your character, to your integrity, to who you are. People don't trust you if you're, sliding of, decks. You know what I'm saying? Like, they need to know that they putting the trust into you as an individual, that you are going to take care of them, that you're a man of your word or a woman of your word.
Yeah.
And one of the things that kind of brought light, which is something which I'm sure you'll bring up, one of the books that was really impactful for me was Gary Vaynerchuk, Crushing It. Talks heavily on personal branding and flooding the market with education and information. And that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
And I continue to do.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, I think that's very important because I think personal branding is probably one of the most underrated and most important thing anybody can do out there.
100%.
Because to your point, like if they know they like you and they trust you, there is a greater chance that they're gonna do business with you versus doing the other person, that is not doing those types of things to elevate their personal branding.
Because if not, you're a fungible product. You're a product that's easily replaceable. The moment somebody has a sale that's less than yours or a price that's less than yours, they're gone, because there's no loyalty to you. They're loyal to the sale price, loyalty to whatever it is. You want people to say, I know that this is a little bit more expensive. I know this is, but you know what? I know they're going to be taken care of.
Yeah, absolutely. So you started the law firm at 36, 37 years old. You had a client signed up, within a day and a half.
Yeah.
To do it, and you've grown this business to become a 7-figure law firm. What are some of the things that you did along the way to grow your firm from 0 to a 7-figure business?
Consistency, persistence, and always giving back to our community. When you do a good job for people, and one key point here, don't accept what other people are trying to give you. Always fight for your client. You can never go wrong by fighting for your client, because a lot of times that I've seen a lot of lawyers, they forget that it's not about the client. They think about their own personal finances, and they'll settle for things that are less than they could probably get because they're trying to pay rent, because they're trying to buy the car. They have this. Because of what my personal experience of losing everything, I'm not asset heavy. I have more available resource cash, that I don't like having debt. And that puts me in a good position because I don't have to rely on, oh my God, I can't pay this, I can't pay that. So then I don't have the stress of like, I need that next check right away. You always have to make sure that you keep the client first, and then through there, you'll actually benefit a lot more that way than you will if you think about yourself first.
Yeah, absolutely. You touched on about losing everything. What was the biggest lesson that you learned from losing everything?
One, it's a humbling experience. I can tell you that. It's a very humbling experience. do more, learn more, and always be persistent. Always be persistent, because there might be people that are smarter than you, but if you outwork that person, nobody can match you. And when you lose everything, you start thinking very clearly on what's important and what's not. Like, everything else seems, in a grand scheme of things, we all like material things or whatever the case is, but they don't add any extra value. Things that I probably bought and things that I've lost it, right? You want to focus on personal experiences, life. You don't need all this extra stuff. It's nice to have, but when you start going through everything and you start losing everything, you start really appreciating the things you do have, and appreciate the people you have and the people that help you get there, and your people that are always supporting you.
Yeah. Awesome. So now let's talk about some of the things that you do at the Reyes firm. You mostly focus on accidents and all of that, right?
Yeah. So we do accidents, we do wrongful death cases, motorcycle accidents, and trucking accidents, semi truck accidents, commercial vehicle accidents. Actually, this next year's I'm going to put a lot of emphasis in semi trucks and commercial vehicle accidents, because I mean, unfortunately, that those are substantial accidents, and a lot of lawyers treat them like regular car accidents, and they're not regular car accidents. It's just a lot more to it.
Yeah. So, for anybody that just got into an accident, what would be the biggest advice that you would give them when they're considering, to hiring a lawyer?
Well, before you even get there, you want to make sure that they document all the evidence, like before they even call a lawyer, because at times they'll call a lawyer right away, but take pictures, take videos. Don't move the cars, because people change their stories all the time. So take pictures, call the police, even if you're not in pain. Tell me your neck hurts at that moment, just for them to write a report. Because if not, they won't even show up. Because later on, your neck may not hurt at that moment, your back, whatever, but a day later it might hurt a lot. You want to make sure you get the long form police report from the police to make sure that you document everything, because when the stories are changing, it's going to make it months and months and months of litigation because of that hour that you decided to save. So make sure you document everything, take pictures, videos. Our cameras are phenomenal. You can take literally everything now. Talk to people, get witness statements, and then, call somebody like myself to talk you through the whole process.
Yeah. What is the biggest mistake that you see people make when after they get into an accident and going through that, law process? What is the biggest mistake that you see them make?
Social media, man. Social media is going to kill us all. Literally, people post everything on social media all the time. And the insurance company at the defense side, they have teams and teams of people. Even though your account might be private, they will find out if you were twerking at the club. They will find out if you were doing this. They'll use something that's not even bad, but if you say something and they see that it's a little questionable, that will come up. Social media is the worst possible thing to post a lot of things, especially after a car accident, in any accident.
Interesting. Yeah. So you do wrongful death, kind of part of that. This is kind of like a hard subject, I guess, to kind of
Yeah,
talk
wrongful
about
death is probably the saddest thing that I do, especially when it comes to semi truck accidents and things like that. But when it's semi truck, at least there's a bigger policy. But the thing is that no matter what the policy is, it doesn't make a difference. Nobody can replace life, no matter how much money's on the table. What happens in Florida, and it might be like this in other states, people are driving very uninsured, very, very uninsured. They might have a $10,000 policy. They may have zero policy. Imagine one person decides to do something wrong, kills somebody else, somebody's son or whatever the case is. There's no criminal charges, even though they killed that person. The reason why there's no criminal charges is because negligence is not a criminal act. Now, if they were speeding, super speeding, if they were drinking, if they were on drugs, different story. But if there was just a regular car accident, that person literally gets away with murder, because they're not going to jail, for one, as long as they stay at the scene of the accident. And what can you take from somebody that has nothing to take? We can get a judgment against that person in court, but we're going to collect. And to tell a family, because they want justice, They want this person to go to jail, rightfully so. To tell them, hey, unfortunately, they're not going to get arrested. Unfortunately, there's no insurance. Unfortunately, we can't get nothing. We can't collect from this person. That's a hard conversation to have with people. And it's not just the mom and dad. It's something. It's the mom, dad, the grandmother. Like you, it's a multitude of people that you have to emotional issues and which makes complete sense.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing I remember you talking about too, which kind of flipping the subject a little bit over here too, because you touched on that, and I want to expand on that. Um, you want to change the stigma of lawyers, kind of being, the sneaky lawyers and stuff like that. You want to change that a little bit to kind of be more um, like open and kind of be there for your clients and doing all of the other stuff. Why did you want to portray or do that instead of like doing what every other lawyer wants to do?
I can tell you this, man. Even though I do, a lot of charity stuff, a lot of community stuff, I'll post something and I do a lot of education. People don't need a lawyer until they actually need a lawyer. But the insurance company has brainwashed a lot of people that the reason why rates are going up and everything else for lawyers. If the insurance company paid correctly, we wouldn't even have these problems. But beside that whole soapbox, I'll post something, an education video, even on my TikTok, whatever, and people are like, "Oh, you're a scumbag. I hope you die. You're the worst person in the world." They don't know me at all. But because I'm a lawyer, I'm automatically the worst person in the world because whatever reason. My rates are high because of you. Has nothing to do with me. In fact, if it wasn't for lawyers, justice would not actually be served because if somebody ever went through this experience, like let's say that I don't do this kind of claim, but let's say somebody has a roof, damage to the roof because of like hurricane, whatever the case is. The insurance company will make you an offer. It doesn't pay the roof. Now you have to hire a lawyer to try to get your roof paid, and then they'll pay attorney fees. The insurance company has to pay the fees. But what's the alternative? That you don't get paid to fix your roof? That you don't get paid for your back after a car accident? That you don't get paid after having surgery? What's the alternative? That they don't pay your medical bills?
Mhm.
And this happens all the time. we have medical bills sometimes from some of our clients that are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. They'll say, well, we're going to offer you $30,000. The bill's $200,000. Are you serious? Yeah, work on those bills. What about this person's like the whole life change? What about that? Yeah, we don't think they really. This is the conversation that people don't see in the background. So if it wasn't for lawyers that continue to fight, people would be basically scams.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying every insurance company is like that. I'm not here stating because we need insurance companies for sure. But what I'm saying is that you need to fight to get them to pay more. They're not going to voluntarily pay more because their interest is the insurance company, not you.
Mhm. Yeah. One of the conversation that we talked about when we talked about a couple weeks ago was the Ubers of the world and kind of stuff like that. That is a kind of different way, because not always is the person that is kind of causing the accident is liable. There are some other ways to get like um what's the word for that,
Coverages or
coverage from the accident. Can you talk a little bit about
yeah.
some of
So
that?
in a sense of like ride sharing accidents, Ubers, Lyfts, stuff like that. Um, the policy is a scaled policy. So the moment they turn on their clock, it starts. If there's nobody in the car, the policy is an X amount of dollars. The moment they have a passenger in the car, the policy goes up. The moment they turn off the clock, it goes back to their personal insurance company, not to the Uber policy no more. So it all depends on what that rideshare person is doing at that time. And then let's say it's not a rideshare accident that they're at fault, somebody else. Well, hopefully you or the Uber or the ride sharing has uninsured motorists that will cover you, even if the person doesn't have enough insurance, the person that caused the accident.
Yeah. That is something that I did not know about. That when you share that, and I was like, this is interesting. Because I never thought if I was riding in an Uber that at this time that I got in the car that now Uber is I'm under like I guess like Uber's insurance
You
to
are.
yeah to be able to do that. That's kind of interesting.
And here's a weird fact that nobody knows about. There's Uber has and I don't know how to live, but they have a very lax policy. So a lot of times, and this is sad to know, but a lot of times the drivers are lying to their own insurance company. They don't drive for Uber, and then they're lying to Uber about that they have the coverage for the insurance company. And then when an accident happens, the insurance company says, "Well, you didn't tell us you drove for Uber." They'll void their policy, and then Uber, depending on the facts, may also not pay either. So now this person may cause the accident, and you're stuck, even though it's an Uber accident, Lyft accident.
Wow,
It's pretty wild.
that's crazy.
Yeah, man.
What are some of the things that most people like me would not know about the whole law process for getting into an accident?
It's longer than what you anticipate because people see the commercials, they see the ads, like so and so got me this. They think it's like they want they want a microwave settlements.
Mhm.
The first thing is you want to get better. See the right doctors for the right injuries. Now one doctor does every case, every injury. Make sure you get better. We want to know your story, know your family story, build up the case correctly, and then prepare to send a demand. It takes a little bit longer than anticipated. It's not you can actually get a check. That's the kind of the mindset, which is going back to the attorneys that people are questioning about. And I understand it's also a fault of the attorneys. You can actually get paid right away. That's not the message. The message is we need to get you better. We need to make you right, and then recover what was taken from you.
Yeah, awesome. So as we are nearing the show here, I have 5 more questions that I'm
Yes,
going to
sir.
be asking you. These are the questions that I always ask any of the other guests. Feel free to expand as long as you want on those
Sure.
because I truly believe those questions could potentially impact some people as well. So the very first one, what is your $1 million advice that you would give for anybody out there that may become a lawyer, that may um, that's an entrepreneur, that may have hit their rock bottom, that wants to bounce back? What is your $1 million advice?
Persistence. You have to be persistent. Life is going to knock you down, knock you down. Learn from your mistakes. We never have bad experiences. We just have experiences. You can either learn from the experience or not learn from the experience. But if you learn from the experience, that was probably more valuable than if it was a good experience. That learning experience from having a bad time, use that as education and use that with the persistence, and nobody can stop you.
Boom.
Yeah.
That was fire. We've kind of talked a little bit about that, but I'm going to ask you that question again. If you lost everything today, how would you rebuild?
With the explosion of AI, with ChatGPT, in fact, ironically enough, I'm actually in USF now for automation, learning AI automation. With the explosion of AI and automation, one person can multiply to be hundreds of people. One person. So if you learn how to use AI correctly and use all the different AI, all the agenta AI out there, you can expand your reach more than anybody can do individually.
Yeah, this is awesome that you are now, I don't know how old you are, but you're going back to
46.
school
Yeah,
to
46.
learn about AI to basically be able to be ahead of the curve.
Oh man, for real. Life is changing, and if you don't change with it, you'll fall behind.
Yeah. I guess what is your biggest lessons about like being a continual learner?
You're always challenging yourself. If not, you become stagnant. Like I'm always learning all the time. And it's funny because when I was younger, I didn't care to learn so much. But now as I've gotten older, I'm obsessed with learning more. Knowledge is truly power. I know it's a cliche, but the more you learn, the more you earn, the more you can change your circles because you're learning new circles, new friend groups, circles of people and friends, and you see opportunities that you never thought were possible just by learning, just by changing your mindset.
I love that. What was the hardest lesson that you've learned that has shaped you to who you are today?
Losing everything, losing everything has been the best lesson I've ever learned because we take things for granted when we have everything. When things are always good, we don't learn nothing. When things are going bad, it's when we learn. And if you use that knowledge and you pivot, you could be unstoppable. Unstoppable.
Yeah. What is one thing if you were to if you were able to go back to your 17-year-old self that just had a baby, what would you tell to your 17-year-old self?
Go to school, learn. Don't rush to go to work right away. I mean, my situation is a tad bit different because I had a baby. But for the majority of people, like, don't rush into life right away. Everybody wants to go from high school to work right away. What happens is that when you start working right away, you get in this like routine of work, and you may not even go back to school or learn anything. And I'm not saying school may not be for everybody, but just learning and knowledge, don't rush it right away. Enjoy your time because you're gonna work longer than you're gonna work more than when you were a kid.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Um, what is one book that has made the biggest difference for your whole life?
Crushing It by Gary Vaynerchuk. There's a lot of books that I like to read. I'm very big into, like, you know, Tom. There's a lot of books. I became obsessed with self help for years, but one of the books was Crushing It when it came to personal branding and creating content and documenting. That has made a tremendous benefit in my life.
Yeah. Um, what are some of the benefits that you've gotten from doing like personal branding or learning from crushing it?
People know you. You can't lie forever, right? Some people, like, you can do an advertisement, whatever, and then nobody knows who you are. But when you have ongoing years and years of content and information, you can't lie for that long. So people get to know who you are, your values, what you represent. I think about it like this. Like, I don't know who's out there like watches Keeping Up with Kardashians, and I'm not. I don't watch it either. But people, they feel like they know that lady. They feel like they know Kim Kardashian. They feel like they're friends. That's the kind of personal branding. They're the queens of personal branding
Yeah.
because people feel like they know that individual, like their family, like their friends, like they're going to hang out.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Very important for personal branding. So, what are some of the other things that you are currently using for your marketing? I think I've seen you on buses and different things.
Yeah. So I do buses, I do benches, but all that stuff is for like branding, name recognition. But what really helps is I do a lot of mentoring at schools. I speak to a lot of kids, high schools as well. I mentor businesses, minority businesses looking to open their own business, and talk to them about branding and marketing and like how to grow their business. Um, I do a lot of community stuff as well. I'm very big into that, and a lot of content when it comes to education on social media. Very big into that.
Yeah. Um, I remember from when we were having a call the last time, you just finished doing some things for a high school. Why did you decide to give back to the younger generations or going back to the schools and doing things for them?
I want to be that person, as one person was to me, that one person can change your whole direction in life. If I can share something that resonates with one person, and that person decides to say, you know what, I want to do this, I want to build this, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to do this, and they change your life, that can change their whole family tree just from that mind shift from that person. And there's been a lot of positive mentors in my life. Growing up, not as many, but as I got older, more. But for me, and even though he may not know it, that chiropractic doctor made me start thinking about this. Reading books of Zig Ziglar and Tony Robbins, that started shifting my mindset to something else. One person can change everything in your life if you take their advice and you run with it.
Absolutely love that. And that is true to me as well. So many great people have definitely influenced me and given back. So, um, very important. And I'm glad that you are that person that is going to the communities and going back and investing in the young kids and the new generation. Um, why is it important? And I know a lot of people, they don't really focus on that. Why is it important for other business owners to consider having a charitable arm in their business to be able to give back?
The more you bless people, the more you bless our community, the more you're blessed. Like it's pretty point blank. I can't tell you I've had a time that I've helped people that hasn't come back to me and again, it's not right away, but I can't tell you there has not been a time that I've done things and my life is not enriched in some way. Even for my own personal feeling, the way I personally feel, it's been enriched, and that happens immediately. Not saying just globally how it affects my life in general. I want to be able to walk in a room, any room, and people are like, I know that guy. I like that guy. He helped my family. I refer to somebody else. I can trust that guy. I feel comfortable with that person. I want to be able to walk to any restaurant, anywhere, and be like, that's a good dude right there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, Man, this has been an incredible time chatting with you and learning about you. And I know that you are also working on something super exciting because of the personal impact that has had on you. Let's talk about that a little bit, and then
Yeah.
yeah. So
So,
we're working on the AI platform, that not AI platform, the
well,
software.
it is. So, the story is, my dad had a cardiac arrest. He fell. He was in Publix parking lot. My mom called me instead of before calling 911, and I was going to the wrong hospital. She told me to go to the hospital, and then come to find out, ambulance finally picked up the phone. They called me. They told me to go to the right hospital. My dad was in a coma. My mom didn't know a lot of the answers, medicines, allergy, like just everything. My dad was probably in a coma longer than he should have been because they didn't have the information right away at that moment to save his life. So I started becoming, ironically enough, I was taking a class at Stanford on scaling businesses, and I was like, "How am I going to scale the law firm? It's not a. I don't sell items. I don't sell products. I'm a local business." And I started talking to the nurses. I started hearing for like 2 weeks of like nurses asking questions, and people didn't know the answers. And I said to one of the nurses, I'm like, "Is there not something that has all the stuff in one place, your medical and your legal stuff?" She says, "No, there's not. There's like my chart that has your medical, but it only works with hospitals, and it doesn't talk to everybody. It's." I said, "Man, I should make something." I have zero tech experience. Let me mind you, I'm in the service industry. I said I should make something and be like for medical and legal. So I made Med Legal Safekeep, and I started talking to like other people that were in this space, and I met some programmers and some developers, and they started developing this app. So Med Legal Safekeep now is open to iOS and Android. It actually has, as geo tracking. If your loved one gets lost, it tracks for 4 hours. If they scan the emergency QR code, tracks all your medical, your health, your financial, and your legal stuff all in one place.
That's incredible.
But like I was saying, even though I made it because of that issue, and we have like account representatives that you can share access to people, you can share things within seconds to people. People that are a little elderly don't like using their phones. So talking about pivoting. So now I'm redesigning the whole app from scratch. Still have all those key components, but having it more for parents for their kids, allergies, medicines, school, and I'm working on partnerships with the schools, hopefully now in the future, to make this part of the districts.
That's incredible. Yeah, it's so awesome when things that affects us in real life kind of spark some other ideas to solve that problem for so many other people,
Yeah, man.
and for those people to think about those and actually bring those ideas to life. So kudos to you for taking that step and wanting to do something about it because there was nothing available for other people to utilize for that.
Yeah, and not in the completeness of what it has.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm excited about it. The past year and a half, I've learned more about technology than anything else.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm becoming a tech person than anything else, honestly.
Yeah. Um, so what is next for you? What's next for that platform? What's next for the Reyes firm? Um,
So continue to grow the firm. The firm is my bread and butter. This is continue to bless people, help people. Um, I as a law firm, I would like to be able to serve hundreds of people every year continuously. As Med Legal, I would like to have 1 million people on the platform in the next 5 years.
Boom. Why not two? Why not three? Why not five?
Hey, listen, dream big and you hit the
Exactly.
aim for the moon, hit the stars.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Let's make it happen, man.
yeah, man. No, listen, it serves a bigger. It's the benefits of it when people start seeing it and using it, and once we refine what we're refining, it can really make your life a lot easier. Imagine having everything all in one place immediately.
Yeah. Awesome. Man, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show. I know you have, we talked about getting you out here at 3:40. It's 3:43.
Yes, sir.
So I want to, be respectful of your time, but it's been a pleasure having you on the show,
Man, me too,
coming
man.
and sharing and a little bit about that. I'm sure there's going to be some a part 2 to this where we kind of delve a little bit deeper into the lore kind of stuff. There was so much that we had to discuss today. So
Yeah.
as the introductory story of that, but it's been a pleasure having you on the show. For anybody that may want to get a hold of the Reyes firm, if they just got into an accident or like choking or
Yeah.
car or anything like that, or wrongful death, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, on all my social media, it's the Reyes Firm because I put the Reyes, THEREYES Firm FIRM on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all of them. My name is Edward Reyes. You can find me on Facebook as well. But the easiest way to get a hold of us is probably call us. It's 833-4-BAD-DAY, which is 833-422-3329.
Absolutely. Love it.
And wait, I want to end with this. That's so fire, bro.
That's so fire, baby. Let's go. It's been a pleasure, man.
Man, you too,
Great
bro.
to have
I
you.
appreciate you so much,
And
man.
yeah, if you just got into an accident, which obviously I don't want you to
Please
get an
don't.
accident.
You had a bad day.
Don't have a bad. If you're having a bad day, definitely reach out to the Reyes firm, and they'll take care of you.
Yes, sir. Thank
Let's
you so
go,
much.
baby. That's so fire.